At the heart of the UK election campaign is how the British see their prospects going forward. The Brexit vote, the election of Donald Trump, it's all part of a trend of voters fearful of their prospects in an ever smaller world, a world where globalization is the factor that weighs on a lot of people's minds. With us is Bruce Stokes of the Pew Research Center.
Great to be with you.
Usually in Washington, today in Paris. Thank you for being with us. You've just put out a survey, and it's interesting. You still say that 46, this is about the perception people have of the world they live in. 46% see their economic prospects as good. That's not a very high number, but it's higher than last year.
That's right. And what's interesting, in advanced economies such as the U.S., Europe, Japan, the public now feels better about the economy today than they did in 2007, right before the financial crisis.
Even though wages, like here in France, they're 5% below what they were in 2007.
And for the most part, they've stagnated in the United States. But people's spirits about the economy have begun to pick up. They aren't great, as you point out. I mean, only 41% of the Japanese say the economy is doing well. That's not so good. Now, on the other hand, it was only 28% in 2007. So we have recovered. Public opinion seems to have finally responded to the activity of the economy, where the unemployment rate is down in the U.S., the unemployment rate has begun to go down in Europe. There's a little bit more growth than there was before. So we've got past that. I mean, the real question we found in this survey that I think highlighted this problem you're talking about is that in advanced economies, people, even if they feel good about the economy today, they don't think their kids and the kids in their society are going to be better off than they are when they grow up. And that lack of faith in the future is sharply distinguishing the
How do you explain it?
One of the dirty little secrets of public opinion research is you don't know why people told you what they told you. So we have to kind of look at some of the data. I mean, I think that people may be employed, but they aren't employed in jobs that are as good as the ones they had. Their incomes may not be as good. In the United States, we certainly know that a lot of people's financial assets were destroyed during the financial crisis because we, Americans, tend to save in our homes rather than other ways. So when the value of your house went down, your savings were shot. This may be all contributing to that, or it could be just a general pessimism that people feel like they don't see where the economy can go from here. And, frankly, economists are telling us they expect slow growth going forward.
The French presidential election was pitted as optimism versus pessimism. Donald Trump, that inauguration speech, shocked people because it was very pessimistic. The general election in Britain, it's again this battle between optimism and pessimism. And looking at your survey, sometimes the what people say seems contradictory.
Well, what's interesting, it seems to me, and as you say, politically, is if you're a politician and you want to pursue an optimistic view, there is some reason to believe that some part of the population is feeling pretty good right now. On the other hand, there's an audience for the pessimistic view because we know overwhelmingly people say, yeah, but my kids are not going to be better off than I am.
And what you study is trends. So what is the trend?
Well, I think the most interesting trend here, well, there's a couple. One is we haven't seen people believe in the future since the financial crisis. And will that ever turn around again? Or are we permanently negative about the future, in part because of the financial crisis? The second trend is we see that even in countries where people feel good about the current economy, they still feel lousy about the future. You would expect those two things to go together. They don't. A third trend, which I think is fairly positive, is young people tend to be more optimistic about the future than older people. And that's who you want to be optimistic, if anybody. And finally, and we have to remind ourselves we live in very partisan societies. In those countries where people feel good about the economy, if your government is a right-of-center government, you tend to feel better about the economy than people in your society who are on the left of center. And if you're left of center and your government's left of center,
it depends who's in power.
It depends who's in power. In the United States, 30% of Republicans in 2016 said the economy was doing well. In 2017, 60% of Republicans said the economy was doing better. The economy didn't get that much better.
You talk about a partisan world, more and more partisan, the city versus the suburbs, the left versus the right.
You certainly, I think, saw that in part in the French election. You saw that in the U.S. election, where you had new divisions opening up in the society between better educated people and less educated people, urban people and rural people. We had a wonderful question before the election in the U.S. where we asked people, who are you going to vote for, Trump or Clinton? And then, would you ever like to travel abroad? And a majority of the Clinton voters said yes, and two-thirds of the Trump voters said no. So there's a cosmopolitan break here as well.
All right, Bruce Stokes of the Pew Research Institute, many thanks for being with us.
Thank you.